Worshipful Master, distinguished brethren and brethren all. Well, once again, it's come round to time to speak to you. And among the many things that I've done this month was speaking to Queen's College, Taunton Lodge, about my work with Mission to Seafarers. And I thought I would share some of that with you today. I'm very grateful to Queen's College, Taunton Lodge for their support of the work of the mission and for the generosity with which they responded to my talk. But there are one or two serious points that arose from that talk which have application to our Masonic lives. And so I thought I would draw your attention to that today. And I've entitled this little oration, "To See Ourselves as Others See Us." Now, that's quite important, isn't it? We have a self-image, a perception of how we like ourselves to be seen, but I wonder if in reality that is always what we'd like it to be. And so I thought I would just tell you the story of the young man in the center of this picture. His name is Fabio. Now, Fabio comes from the Cape Verde Islands, and I met him a couple of years ago whilst working in Royal Portbury Dock, and he'd just come ashore from his ship. It was November, it was cold, it was grey, it was wet, it was raining. In other words, a typically British November day. And you could see in Fabio's eyes that he just was not impressed with our country. And sort of, what the hell is this place reaction was very clear in what he was thinking and in what he said to me. Well, as so often with the mission, clearly the first priority was to take him to get some warmer clothing. And among the many things we offer in our Seafarers Centre is warm clothing, woolly hats knitted by volunteer ladies, and so on. So I went and dressed him up, and I gave him some of our mission stuff. And having a bit of time that morning, I said to Fabio, "So what do you know about England? You know, you've lived all your life in Cape Verde. You've never come to England before. What have you heard about England, and where would you like to go?" And I was thinking, well, maybe he's heard something about Bristol, and he'd like to go into the city and just have a look at a few things. And you really could have bowled me over when Fabio said to me, "Well, I'd like to go to Argos." Now, I'm not often easily fazed, but I'm curious how Fabio's perception of England is that Argos was a big thing. Now, Argos isn't even a British company. And so his perception of England really brought me up short. Well, to carry on with Fabio's story, we did indeed go to Argos, and he bought himself a sports bag and a SIM card that he wanted. And I guess maybe the attraction of Argos was the novelty of being able to walk in somewhere and buy something, having looked at it in a book. I don't really know. But the story of Fabio really made me think, how is it that other people perceive each one of us? And Fabio's perception of England was clearly a long, long way from how I thought England might be perceived. Well, there's a few other pictures around the screen of my work with the mission. And one of the things that I love about it is the global brotherhood across the world that makes me have a big perspective on human life around our planet. But thinking about this perception thing at the moment, clearly within Freemasonry, we've spent a lot of time recently thinking about how it is other people perceive the order. And we've done a number of things to shake off some of the legends and rather silly myths that circulate about Freemasonry, opening ourselves to the wider community, talking more about what it is we do and why has been really important. And of course, many of you will be aware of a major milestone recently when Grand Lodge published its first annual report in over 300 years. That's a big step, and I hope if you haven't read it, you might have a look. It's very good, and it certainly alters, I hope, people's perceptions of what Freemasonry might be about. But all of that, of course, is really at a level rather beyond us as ordinary lodge members. And it's some time, of course, since we've been able to meet together and carry out our ceremonies. And I think one of the important perceptions of us as Freemasons arises from the 5 points of fellowship. Now, clearly, we've not been able to demonstrate that for a long time now in the lodge, and nor will we be able to probably for some time to come because of COVID regulations. But the 5 points of fellowship, I remember making a deep impression on me in the third degree, and I think that's very much how we as Masons should like to be perceived. Perhaps you'll bear with me for a minute while I read you that little section again from the third degree. Hand to hand, I greet you as a brother. Foot to foot, I will support you in all your laudable undertakings. Knee to knee, the posture of my daily supplications shall remind me of your wants. Breast to breast, your lawful secrets, when entrusted to me as such, as I will keep as my own. And hand over back, I will support your character in your absence as in your presence. Very powerful words, I think, and very much we as Freemasons would wish to be perceived as that. And as I say, since it's been such a long time, this might be a moment for us to pause and reflect on how people do perceive us individually as Freemasons, and are we demonstrating those particular aspects in our lives? Clearly, that whole passage has needed a bit of reinterpretation in time of lockdown as to how we carry that out. And I know that I've been grateful to many of my brethren and friends in lodges around the province who have actually displayed all those qualities and kept in touch with me and with each other and supported us in these difficult times. Very soon, I hope, we can get back to our lodges again. And rather than just simply falling into the ways of the past, this seems a good moment to take a fresh look of us, our lodges, us as individuals, and to think very hard about how is it that other people perceive us, and how would we wish to be perceived. And I hope that we can demonstrate in the weeks and months to come the true depth and breadth of Masonic fellowship and our care for one another. And just back to Fabio to finish off with, well, my thanks to him. We have occasionally been in touch by email as he travels around the world. I haven't actually seen him personally for a while, but I may yet do again. But I would like to thank him for making me pause and think about how it is that I perceive myself and others might perceive us. I hope as life improves, that might offer you a few thoughts for the future. Thank you always for listening.